Good evening, it's Ghost. Sorry, I've got to make this really quick because a bunch of dogs are about to stampede my house and it's about to become very loud in here. So, I'm making a PNGTUBER. It was very difficult. I'm sorry I wasn't here last week, and let's just get into it. Just want to say sorry if there's any background noise. I do kind of need to whisper. I'm not in the best recording environment at the minute, but we're just gonna deal with it. It's times like this I really wish I had soundproofing. I feel so self-conscious right now. Oh dear. I'm going with Dottore for the PNGTUBER. If you don't know Genshin Impact, he's one of the main antagonists at the minute, and he recently got a boss design, which I found really cool. I wanted to draw it at the beginning, and don't get me wrong, it was really fun to draw, but it has so many details. Forgive me, he does look a little bit goofy during the sketch phase. I was struggling with the proportions a bit. I'm not used to drawing chibis, but I'm trying to get more into it. This was definitely very good practice. Once I had a rough idea of where I needed to go, I started to actually separate all the details. I started with the mask because I knew it was going to be one of the layers that was at the most front, and weirdly enough, I've only done a VTuber before, and now I'm going to PNG tubing, which are very different in terms of softwares and such. I feel like VTubing is definitely more of a learning curve, but it's just a weird place to start. Because I had all this prior knowledge of VTubing, I didn't really check out the software that I was going to use for PNG tubing, so I kind of didn't know what I needed for setting the whole thing up. When it comes to VTubing, you need to separate everything into layers, so I tried to do the same thing with PNG tubing, but I didn't realize I didn't need to. The mini version of the software I'm using, VideoTube, only allows you to input 4 images, which I should have known because many PNG tubers use that format. But I ended up downloading the early access version as well, which allowed me to add a lot more movement and a lot more functions to it, which meant that all the different layers came into use. I figured I'd try my hand at doing both, so I made a mini version and I made the early access version. But anyway, I'm jumping too far ahead. With the actual model, I decided to go very rendered for the typical chibi. I have a really bad habit of adding in so many details, but honestly, it's just become part of my art style at this point. I've tried to loosen up a bit, and I think that maybe I'll get to that point eventually, but it definitely didn't come through with this one. I'm pretty sure I actually started the drawing before the update came out, so we only had very limited references to work with. There was only the trailer. That meant that at the beginning a lot of things got very lost in translation, and the arms especially, the arms, the hands, the way that all the mechanical parts intertwine, as well as the little, what are they called? The little data symbols that run up his arm? Gosh, I really need to figure that out. The trilune, which is the mechanical vice right behind him, was so much fun to draw, but do forgive me, I did trace over it. I really didn't want to have to struggle with all the little parts and all the features and getting the symmetry right. It would just be way too difficult, and I really don't think it's worth it when I could just do that and still have my own art style over the top of it once I got the details down. Honestly, it might be a bit controversial, but I think it's okay. The update did eventually come out, and I was able to go back in and get all the references I needed, and that meant a lot of touch-ups. I can't believe I even forgot his hair. How did I forget his hair? But anyway, I think that I got most of it right in the end. I mean, I can hope. I'm sure somebody will let me know if I didn't. If my storage wasn't already full enough, it's now completely saturated with so many different screenshots. Once that was done, I could finally get him into the actual program, and oh my gosh, this was like such a learning curve. It had a lot of, they're called nodes. I'm not really sure how all the inner workings work, but I managed to get it somehow, and I was just following a tutorial for the majority of it. I had my friend in the room for a lot of it, and we were both completely stumped in a lot of respects, but eventually I managed to get a hang of it and it started going pretty well. Once I had all my files in and I named them all just to keep them organized as I could, I had to go in and... Okay, forgive me for this really, really bad explanation. Please don't take this as a tutorial. It's really not. But I had to go in and attach them to each other. I decided I really only needed to attach everything to the torso. So everything would attach to the torso, and then other parts would attach to those parts, I think. And the gist of it was there would be a base part, and then every other item would pivot off of that part. Then you'd go in separately to each item dependent on their physics. You would add different dynamics. From that stage, it was really important to add pins. So you'd basically, say a strand of hair. You'd line the strand of hair with 2 to 3 pins going from top to bottom, and then the first pin would be the one that the position pivoted off of, and the rest of the pins would be how the rest of the hair flowed. And you'd just, well, I'm sure that there is a much easier way to do it, but I just tweaked with the effects until it looked okay. I eventually got the idea of how each of them worked and what each of them did, but it took more than a second. The nodes were probably on par with difficulty, at least in my case. I haven't done coding in years now, and I remembered nothing. I was following along with the tutorial, and they started off with the cursor node, which basically allowed me to move the body around according to my cursor. From then it was a lot of the same process, shimmying it back and forth, seeing how each attachment moved, and fiddling with it until it made sense. Of course, the physics of each layer would move slightly differently. For instance, the back of the coat, the legs, the arms, they'd all pivot slightly in different ways. The coat might have had a bit more elasticity because it was fabric and not attached to the human body. The belts were also quite tricky because I needed them to pivot in the right place so that way they wouldn't look detached, but I also wanted them to be sort of bouncy so that way they'd come off the front of the coat a little bit more and, I don't know, just make it look more dynamic. Quickly switching over to the mini version side of things, I wasn't able to record a lot of this process because I normally use inbuilt screen recording processes, and I find it difficult to use anything else without my storage completely dying on me. I still wanted the dynamicness, I don't know, the movement of the full version, well, early access version. So I ended up using the layers to turn the closed mouth and the open mouth into a GIF. Thankfully I didn't need to worry about the eyes, he has none. Eventually I was able to achieve a similar effect in the mini version, but it didn't have the same quality. Going back to early access really quickly, I just wanted to cut in and explain what happened last week. Quite a few, like, nothing major. It wasn't anything too bad. I mean, I did find out I had a hole in my heart, but funnily enough, 1 in 3 people do have holes in their hearts, which is an interesting fact. Sorry, context. I ended up going to a cardiologist because, I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but I have some sort of issue with fatigue. that hasn't gone away for a decade, and I have no idea what's going on. I am taking like upwards of 70 milligrams of Concerta, as well as Ritalin on top of that. I had the theory that it could possibly be POTS related, so my mum helped me book in a cardiologist appointment, and we went, but unfortunately they weren't able to find anything, and that kind of took a toll because I hit another dead end. I'm gonna look into other things. I'm going to a sleep study soon, so they'll hook me up to a bunch of different wires and stuff again, and hopefully they can find something. I'm honestly doubting it, but I'm starting to wonder if I might have ME, which would be bad. I don't know. Anyway, I was a little bit out of whack last week, and I happened to start a new course as well, so a bunch of things all collided at once, and I was not able to fit in recording to that schedule. I don't mean for this to be heavy at all, I'm just talking about it because, I don't know, maybe somebody is going through something similar, and maybe somebody has answers to what's happening, so I just wanted to put it out there. Nothing's really changed from where I was, and if anything, I'm closer to finding answers, so that's what I was focused on last week, but I was doing this at the same time, I just didn't happen to finish it. Honestly though, giving myself the extra week was probably better because I was able to fine-tune everything, and I'm really, really happy with all the little extra details that I could add. Wait! I never replaced this arm. Okay, give me a second. Okay, there we go, much better. Sorry about that. Okay, here we are. I forgot it would track my mouth movement. I can hear people outside. I hope that you guys can't hear them. Okay, now my dog's barking. Oscar! Okay, I don't know what he's doing. Back to the video. I'm really happy, especially with how his little earring came out. Oh my gosh! Look at it! Hang on, I'll show like all the details on both sides. Ooh! Don't do that! I went to get the hair sort of bobbing all in different ways, so I managed to separate those different parts. I was going to make the mask jostle around a bit, but I realized that it would just happen a bit too much with the nodes that were available, or at least my very limited knowledge of them. I made sure that the feathers bounced as well, the arms go up and down, and the coat was a nightmare, but it was really fun to eventually get because it was the first part. I managed to get the belts to move slightly separately from the main bit of fabric. The hair at the back was also really fun. I wish I could get it to flow around a little bit more. Maybe as I learn more of the website, I'll update the file over time. Speaking of updating the file, I'm actually going to be selling this on VGen. It's going to be very, very cheap because, you know, I can sell multiple of them. So if you would be interested in it, feel free to check it out. I'll leave a link below. The mini version will also be available because you do need the early access in order to get this one. Speaking of, I'd say let's move on to showing the mini version. Okay, here's the mini version. A little bit different, but really not so much. I managed to get most of the movement the same using the GIF method. I will say that the quality looks slightly different. I think that this program can't handle larger files, and I tend to use really, really high resolution files. In this program you can still mess with some of the different effects. I noticed that like he is completely fine, like down to 120, and I don't think it's a big deal, but like as soon as he gets past 120, he starts like getting all these little dots. I think it might be something to do with the GIF version, but then, you know, he gets smaller and he's completely fine again. It's a small thing. I hope that it's alright, and I'll eventually figure out how to fix it in the future. Like I said, I can update the files at any point. And I'll move him a little bit further up so that way I can see more of him. And I'll make him a bit bigger. There we are. This is the wave I have it set to, so that way it can float around all over the place. I can also really quicken it as well, which kind of makes him do that. And I can offset it a lot as well. But I quite like it, just the sort of slow movement. I can also change how much he moves, so I can go really high, and then I can also go like really from side to side. I think that'll all be accessible in the file, so if you want to tweak around with it, that's completely plausible. So when they speak, you can add a little jump, but you can change the amount, but I prefer to just keep it off, but that is completely up to you. Alright, I think that's it for now. I really hope that the video made up for last week. Again, I'm sorry, I should be back on schedule for now, maybe. I am going away for the next week, but I should be able to still make a video. But I'll be by the beach, and hopefully it'll be my little fantasy critters again, so maybe I can add in a little bit of that sea theme, so look forward to that too. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate all of you. I'll see you next week. Good night.